Yep,
We're
it
still
says
not
we
live.
should
Waiting,
be going
waiting
live.
for technical foul. Whatever that means.
I have pressed the go live button. So now
We are live.
we are live.
Yes, we're live.
Can you listen to it and be sure we all sound good?
Yeah, sure.
And then we
I'm
can get the
pulling
show
it up.
started.
Jack's got it. That's usually his role.
Yep. Da, da, da. We're going to hear it over
yeah.
the...
Turning off my Bluetooth.
Appreciate it. I don't want to hear myself right
Well,
now.
I muted it anyway because I don't want.
Yeah, there it is. That's some good
Sounds
audio
crisp.
content right
Sounds
there.
Crisp.
You're not going to hear me every time I breathe out like you did on Wednesday's remote show. Could y'all hear that?
Not that bad.
I wasn't
no.
wearing headphones, so
Oh,
can't tell
you weren't wearing headphones?
Mm-mm.
What was your setup?
It came through the laptop.
Oh.
Everything was laptop, microphone, laptop audio.
Shout the laptop.
I put on my headphones, and then you said that audio didn't sound. better than the
your
other,
laptop did sound better than the headphones.
which surprises me.
I thought my
that's a
audio
good
sounded.
headset.
I found out that my.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, well, then I'll stop the recording.
So we're live, but not recording.
So yeah, I start the recording when we start that, so that I can post it to Spotify as a podcast, because I don't want all this filler stuff on the podcast.
Heard.
So I start the podcast when we go.
Heard.
Right now we're just kind of chilling. We can get started in a second, but first, my headset, I found out if I put the mic right next to my mouth, it catches every breath, every laugh. It's very airy. But if I move it away from my face, it's a good enough mic that it picks up just the sound with no air.
That
So,
is how those headsets work
Yeah,
as a Siege player.
well, I just don't do that.
Oh, I got to bring that up. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we ready to start?
Yeah, we're ready
We
to
had a big
start.
milestone.
All right, take it away, Jack.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast. We're finally all three back in the studio after a long week of different stuff, different scenarios. But it feels good to be back. Here as always, I'm Jack Anderson. JP's to my right, Sanders is to my left. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great. Good
Yeah.
to be back. Had a good week at work. Enjoyed it, but that's all I can say because I signed an NDA. So sorry.
Understandable. Did you sign one last?
Yeah, I
time,
had
too?
to sign one last time as well.
Interesting.
I could only really say like what I did as a project because that's something I could tell an employer. But other than that, I can't tell you anything else.
Interesting.
That's
I didn't
crazy.
know you were doing that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats.
Sanders,
Studio
how was your
after a long week of
I'm good. I went home for
different
the week,
stuff,
as y'all
different
saw.
scenarios.
Yes,
my-
but it feels
your
good to be
weekend
back.
I know about.
I had a.
Here
a
as
leak
always,
set up at
I'm
home.
Jack
Oh, that
Anderson.
is
JP's to my right,
laggy.
Sanders is to my left.
Man,
How
I
y'all
can't
doing?
wait till we get to plug in
I'm doing great.
Ethernet and
Good
not
to
have
be
this
back.
lag anymore.
We move in
had a
what
good
next
week.
week?
Oh, we've
At
already
work.
moved in.
Yeah,
Enjoyed
we
it,
Jack
but
proposed
that's all I can
proposed an
say
idea
because I
that he
signed
would
an NDA.
switch.
So sorry.
Understandable.
With him.
Did you
That's
sign one
funny.
last little
No,
week?
Yeah, I
we
did
are
sign
not
one last
moving in
time
next
as well.
week. We will be
Interesting.
moving in at the end of the summer.
I can only really say like
after
what
the place
I
we're
did as a
moving into
project
is a
because
bedroom,
that's something I
and
could
currently
tell
the
an
person who lives in
employer,
that bedroom has
but
a lease through the
other
end
than that, I
of
can't tell you
July.
anything else.
So we will be moving in
Interesting.
after
I
his
didn't know you were
lease
doing that
ends.
kind of stuff.
Because
Congrats.
that is how.
Studio
Sanders,
after a long week of
I'm good. I went home for
different
the week,
stuff,
as
different
y'all saw.
scenarios.
Yes,
But
it feels good to be back.
I know about.
I had a
Here as always,
set up
I'm
home.
Jack
Oh, that is-
Anderson. JP's to my
Okay.
right, Sanders is to my left.
Man,
How
I
y'all
can't
doing?
wait till we get to
no,
plug in.
I'm doing
My
great.
weekend was good.
Good to
I
be
had
back.
lag anymore.
We move in
had a
what
good
next week?
We've already
Work
moved in.
Battlefront
Yeah,
enjoyed it,
Jack
but
proposed
that's
an
all I
idea
can say because I signed an
Heard it,
NDA.
heard
So
seen
sorry.
tweets about it.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's
Did you
That's
sign one
funny.
last little
No,
week?
Yeah, I
we
did
are
sign
not
one last
moving in
time
next
as well.
week. We will be
Interesting.
moving in at the end of the
I
summer.
can only really say like
after
what
the place
I
we
did
were
as a
moving into
project
is a
because
bedroom.
that's something I could tell an
He was
employer,
never
but
the lease crazy
other than
stuff.
that, I can't tell you
Yeah,
anything
the
else.
gang
Feels
will
the
be
game.
moving in
Interesting.
at the
I didn't know you were doing that
Once
kind
they
of stuff.
fix that, because
Congrats.
that's how go back and
Studio
do
after a long week of
I'm good. I went home for
different
the week,
stuff,
as
different
y'all saw.
scenarios.
Yes,
but it feels good to be back.
I had a
Here as always, I'm Jack Anderson. JP's to my right, Sanders is to my left.
Man,
How
I
y'all
can't
doing?
wait till we get to go.
I'm doing great.
My weekend was good.
Good to be
I had
back.
lag anymore.
We move in
Had a
what
good
next week?
We've already moved in.
Battlefront.
We
Enjoyed it,
Jack
but
proposed
that's all I can
an
say
idea
because I
that
signed an NDA. So sorry.
Understandable. Did you sign
That's
one
funny.
last little
No,
week?
Yeah, I
we
did
are
sign
not
one last
moving in
time
next
as
week.
well.
We will be
Interesting.
moving in at the end of the
I can
summer.
only really say
After
like what
the place
I
we
did
were
because I like if I'm a cool character.
You want to see your cool
I wanna see-
character?
Like if I'm,
I mean, it's fun to play in
if I'm
the
a
Star
sixth
Wars world.
stormtrooper, like I want to look like a sixth. And EA's been producing some good products as of late.
YouTube is not recording. Is that what this
No,
is?
we're good. Can we start the podcast section over because I think what I may have actually done is I have the live stream open on my computer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And yeah,
And then I think I
Played
had my
audio.
desktop audio turned up, so I think that the live stream audio was going into the live stream.
Yeah, we can restart
Cool.
the
So
podcast.
I'm going to stop this recording, and you can play the intro and get us started.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast, our second attempt to start this episode, thanks to our producer getting his third strike.
that's 3.
That is 3 strikes.
That's
But
three.
I caught
This
it.
will be the last episode
I
you see
caught
Sanders in, I'm afraid.
But I caught it.
I would even
said-
argue that was a foul tip. So like I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a strike 3.
Yeah.
No, I have a
Nice knowing you, Sanders. I'm going to
this-
go and just turn down your audio.
No. I'm going to change the freaking
I'm
audio.
joking.
No, that was a drop strike 3. I just made it to
No.
first. I hustled it out.
See, the
I
sec- the
swung
s-
at it.
The second strike was a foul tip, but it's the second strike, so it's a second strike.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, strike 3.
No, this
swing and a miss.
was a swing.
We got
and miss.
majority
High
here.
fastball.
We got majority here.
It was so high though. The catcher missed it. Goes to the
the
backstop. I'm
catcher's
standing on first.
me. He's not. Nothing's getting
Yeah.
over him. Come on now.
Bro, I've seen you try and catch. You're not that great. Don't sell
I
yourself.
was doing way better than you. You're getting drilled in the shin.
That was because freaking Joshua was throwing them like 2 feet in front of the plate.
And I was catching offhand too,
Yeah, but that's
and still doing better.
Whoa, no, you were not catching. You were catching with your dominant hand.
Yeah, but that
makes it
feels
easier.
weird.
No, that sounds. I wish I could. Do
No,
that.
it feels so weird
That-
I would love to
that
catch
would
my
feel weird.
with my dominant.
because you haven't
I
played a ton of
disagree.
baseball.
I have not played a ton of baseball.
So anyway,
Playing summer league softball, that's gonna be hype.
I'm not playing.
That's tough.
So I'm just like I'm out 2 of the weeks.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
fair.
like it sounds like it's kind of a pretty competitive
I'm
big
still
deal.
I'm still thinking
So-
about it.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, we're back in the studio, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
How are y'all's weekends?
It was good. Great weekend. A lot of great basketball. Nice 3-day weekend after a first work week. It was tiring, to say the least. Getting reused to waking up at. Well, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. because I have an hour-long commute. So
That is tough.
it's rough. Driving down the Trace for 40 minutes every morning is something. But that's all I can say because I signed an NDA. So sorry, that's all I can tell you about what happened on my first work week.
Makes you sound very fancy, we'll say. So
Yeah.
pretty high profile job you got.
It's a competitive industry.
Sure.
Car selling, like
Whoa, he's telling us more, guys.
as you can see with like salesmen, like at
Yeah.
dealerships, like that's really competitive, and it's no different with production. So, all right, you just played the audio again.
Nope, I did not.
Okay, sure.
Man, strike 4.
No, I have it turned down in OBS.
How was
second
your
plate
How was
appearance.
your weekend, Sanders?
My weekend was fantastic. I went down to New Orleans, got some beignets, some catfish. So yeah, it was.
Who dat?
It was yeah. Saw a lot of LSU fans. Told them they had one job yesterday and they did not do it, but
Vandy came through.
Vandy got the job done today. Go Commodores.
Anchor down.
Yeah, so that was a big
Sure.
win for the Mississippi State baseball program today.
If you view it that way, sure.
I thought all you care about is that you hate Ole Miss. Like you want us,
He wants to beat Ole Miss though.
Yeah.
but you don't care if we're not playing them. You don't care.
It's not worth giving them any attention,
Interesting.
win or loss.
Interesting. Yeah, that's crazy that we disagree on both fronts there. That you're so extreme as you think beating Ole Miss is the most important thing we can do in a season, and doing so makes you a legend.
Well, that's part of the huge transgression between both the fan bases of you're just obsessed with me kind of thing. I'm on the end of I could not care less.
Except that you care so much that a dude who isn't good for a season, but then I'm not talking about that specific dude, but a player who is responsible for helping us beat Ole Miss makes them a legend.
Correct.
But Ole Miss is so unimportant to you that you don't care other than the 7 times we played.
It's fake
Correct.
unimportance because he won't give them the honor of letting them know that he cares about them.
I
So,
guess I disagree with you there, but whatever. Add that to the list of things me and JP disagree about.
I really do like the fact I sit in the middle feels pretty poetic, to be honest.
Yes,
I'm like
very
the
true.
bridge between both of y'all.
Yeah,
So the mediator.
That'll be interesting in the new studio.
True.
He'll still be in the middle.
True. Okay.
I will have to. There may be some fist fights come up.
Yeah, there's no like desk
There is
between
no
us.
breakup. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we get into the film corner,
Yeah.
and
We'll just put a wrestling ring in
I'll
one
just be
corner.
like, okay, so like I'm Karl Anthony Towns here, you're Miles Turner.
No, he's Andrew Nimhard tonight.
No.
Jack
no,
is Jalen
no,
Brunson,
No,
and we're so elbow you in the face.
No, I'm Draymond, and you're a foreign center. That's what's
Okay.
happening.
You're Yusuf Nurkic.
Well, Steven Adams, he is foreign actually. That's a good point.
Yeah.
He just has a white name.
Yeah. He's New Zealand.
This-
We actually were doing a
forgot about
project tonight.
I was wondering. If
We were
brought
making
up-
4 teams. We were making an all white and all mixed and all black and an all European team.
that. Okay.
And Steven Adams, there was some contention there because
Right now,
Yes, current
Okay.
player.
because he's
give me
not.
the Europeans.
Yes, the weird thing is Europeans have no traditional guards. No, I don't
I
think
can
it
go
really
get
matters.
my iPad. It's got
I
the
don't
it's
think it
got the
matters.
list
But
on it.
because you have Luka and Jokic to
And
run the
Giannis.
offense and Giannis
and Wemby.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So
Yeah, we had Wemby playing the 3.
yeah, he was playing the 3.
That feels good.
I went
Natural.
Laurie Markkinen at the 2 as well, just because I want another 7-footer, just go
Sure.
mega height. It doesn't really
Shortest
matter.
guy is 6'7".
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a fun exercise though.
Yeah.
But it's just funny that you
The
brought
white team gets cooked.
Well, yeah. There's no
it.
good one.
The best white wing is Christian Brown.
yeah.
It was rough.
So
Initially, we were like, oh, like they've got
Who's the
Jokic
point guard?
and Luka.
Caruso.
Caruso.
Oh, I would say Peyton Pritchard.
he was on the bench.
Okay.
He was on
yeah,
the
he
bench.
came off the bench.
So-
Sure. I mean that he's the sixth man of the year.
It
so.
that's
started.
fair.
The conversation started because we were talking about how we need to put more WNBA games on our calendar to watch, specifically Fever versus Sky. Like I'm watching like every time I get a chance, I'm watching those games. And then I posed the question: who would win right now, the all white team or the all black team? Because I feel like if you've got Sabrina Ionescu, Caitlin Clark, Brianna Stewart, Kelsey Plum, Cameron Brink, like. That's an insanely good team. But then on the other side, you got Asia Wilson, Ryan Howard, Aaliyah Boston,
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese might be on that team. That's a good matchup. I would actually be interested to see what would happen there.
We're gonna run a 2K25.
I think we could do that. If race wasn't such a big problem in the world, that those would be like fun things to do.
Yeah, it's just
Well,
a little
people had
taboo.
a very a well structured debate about football like a year and a half ago. You remember that? That
Yeah.
was pretty fire. Like Twitter was getting into it, but it was all healthy. Like no one was like, "Oh my gosh, this is racist." People were just like, "Oh, like what would this look like?"
There's just such negative connotation with
I mean,
that,
that
in the
was-
in the WNBA in particular right now.
That was
they would get.
2 WNBA headlines this week.
Yeah.
I forgot the other one, but Brittany Griner was complaining about Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
and it was about race.
You talking about the lip read thing?
And
Yeah.
apparently she didn't even get.
I saw someone else who said something like, "You can't know for certain when it's lip reading," because I saw someone else who gave
don't know.
I like
John Boy Media is really
Pretty good.
lip
Did he
reading.
say-
he didn't do it on
Yeah,
it?
well
but
then
if he
we'll
did
ask
it-
him. I know him personally, so yeah.
what?
His name's Jimmy. I mean,
Yeah.
And the other guy's name is Jake, right?
yeah.
No, I saw someone else who tweeted like, "Y'all are all misreading this. Here's what she actually said," and that answer also made sense, which means you just can't know.
See, I heard she didn't even foul Caitlin Clark. Like she didn't foul out because she fouled Caitlin Clark. But I didn't watch the game.
I
so
didn't
just,
either.
I avoided it. My
Another-
favorite Brittany Griner thing is the fact that Vin Diesel himself rescued her from
This is
Russia.
Bring her back.
Yeah, let's get Brittany Griner home before Christmas, and like not even a week later, it announced that Brittany Griner is coming home. I think he genuinely thinks he's Dom Toretto.
You
Like
he
I think
believes
I
it?
think the lines
it's-
between Vin Diesel
yeah.
and
Well,
Dom Toretto
he's
have been blurred.
He's been Dom
He's played
Toretto
him
for
10
so long.
times. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey. Like it's
Sure.
just Matthew McConaughey in a movie. But Dom Toretto really is only one character.
Yeah.
McConaughey can be McConaughey in a bunch of different roles, if that makes sense. Like he's still Matthew McConaughey, but he's Matthew McConaughey as a lawyer,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Dom Toretto has
as a
to play
stockbroker.
the or Vin Diesel has to play the like
Family.
He's getting typecast.
family guy. Yes.
Yeah,
Even like a movie like The Pacifier,
Yeah,
he
like
plays
Dwayne
the
The Rock
same
Johnson.
guy.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson is typecast.
Yeah. Like
Sure.
he's not going to be the head coach of the Sixers in Hustle 2 or whatever it's called.
Hustle 2 would be fire. Isn't just Stanley Sugarman going to be the head coach in Hustle 2? Surely.
Wait, are
More
we
than
getting
likely.
Hustle too?
I don't know. I just threw that out.
Oh, okay. Don't do me like that. That was mean.
Sorry. I'd be
would-
excited to see Adam Sandler be the head coach of the Sixers. He'd
Yeah,
probably
that'd
do
be
better than who's the head coach? Nick Nurse
Nurse.
is a good head coach. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
NBA champion Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
But then again,
Where?
Doc Rivers has
Doc
a
Rivers is an
yeah,
NBA champion. So
Where was-
Toronto Raptors.
Toronto,
Oh,
2019.
Yep.
With Kobe.
Kawhi Leonard, as my fiance
Pascal
calls him.
Siakam.
Spicy P. Anyway, actually, probably the emptiest show we have
That was a fire 15 minutes.
of all time.
That was good.
No, it was 10.
Um,
It was 10.
We are going to talk about the 2 NBA series. We don't have anything else on the docket. We're hitting the summer stride.
We can talk about more stuff like that.
So Mississippi State sports update will go away. We'll still talk about the baseball tournament as news comes along, but no new news since Wednesday's show. So, and I mean, as football news comes out towards the end of the summer, we'll probably get back into the weekly MSU stuff. But that's gone away for now off the Sunday show. So we just have these 2 series to talk about:
Yeah.
Pacers, Knicks, and Timberwolves, Thunder.
We got to decide when we're going to actually start our football previews, because that's going to be a tackle a very large
Post NBA
tall
finals.
task.
I was going to say start of July.
So
Yeah.
is the plan just to do NBA finals only every show for the next?
I mean, I would be down to
3 weeks.
filter in more MLB stuff, but
Oh,
I'm also
yeah.
the only
Okay, bet.
We'll have the weekly segment.
I mean, I'm down to
Fill out.
discuss how apparently I jinxed the Orioles by picking them to win the
They're
East.
worse than the White Sox.
They're
and
worse
now
than
they
the
have-
Pirates.
Yeah. They've got a terrible. Wait, not the worst record though. That's still the Rockies. They have the worst
Yes.
winning percentage, right?
No, the
It-
Rockies have only won like 9 games.
Yeah, they haven't hit
Okay.
double digit yet.
Okay. Well, that's a big relief.
Yeah, I
They
do
do
think
have a win with
a
the Braves.
Sanders curse is starting to form. We'll have to keep tabs on that.
Yeah,
Last I
as
checked,
the
I
show
picked Florida to win the
progresses.
national championship. So
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
okay.
I mean,
you deserve credit for that one. I won't lie. Jack's trying to push you down. You deserve credit for that one.
I mean, that wasn't that hard a pick. They were probably the second favorites.
Yeah, but that's still. I think everyone. Picked,
Who'd you pick,
Everyone
Jack?
was picking Duke. So
me?
Yeah, who'd you?
I Duke.
Yeah, I mean, I also had Duke in one of my other brackets.
Yeah, see, there's multiple brackets is like where I start to lose
I had
faith.
2 brackets. I had one that was me and one that was my model, and I don't remember which one picked Florida.
See, I had 2 brackets.
I think my model picked Duke,
as it should.
and I picked Florida.
I had my 2 brackets, one where I picked Creighton regardless, and then my actual one. And Creighton couldn't come through for me. But one of these times, Creighton's going to come through, and I'm going to look like a genius.
We'll see.
This next year, actually.
Let's ask ChatGPT when Creighton's going to win the.
They already did that. There's go find that Instagram post.
I
while
don't
we're
wanna,
talking about the NBA.
I don't want to find.
There's already an Instagram post.
I know there
I
is.
promise.
I've seen the post. I don't want to go find it though. It's too far away.
Okay, well, what's our
Let's get
first
started.
series? What's the first series we're talking about?
I don't know. It's up to
Knicks
them.
Pacers.
Knicks Pacers it
Please.
is.
It's the freshest on our minds.
It's the best one.
2 games have happened since we recorded.
Correct.
Yeah.
Pacers took game 2, felt stylistically and like how the game, not entirely how the game played out, but it felt fairly similar to game 1 in a lot of ways, minus the massive comeback from Andrew Nembhard. Or not Andrew Nembhard, Neesmith, sorry, with all of his threes and the Pacers in general. But I really more want to talk about game 3 because that's the most recent game. Unless you have any big things you want to say about game 2.
I do. The game starts the exact same way the first game starts.
Pascal Siakam was phenomenal. I
Pascal
apologize.
Siakam has 39, but the Pacers just come out and make everything.
Yeah.
To start the game. Then they slow up the rest of the first quarter, and the first quarter ends 26-24. Knicks up by 2, so you're thinking, okay, we're about to have a game that's going to play out in the Knicks' pace, and it's going to slow down and everything. But Siakam continued to cook. He ends up with 39, as I said. McConnell gets the double digits again, which was something I had brought up after the game 1 was this can't be happening kind of thing. He did it again in game 3. And then Brunson has another electric game, scores 36. And Towns and Bridges both go for 20. The big story of the game, though, was Knicks again play just 7 guys. They get 10 minutes out of Cameron Payne as the 8th. And down the stretch, they're tired, they're slow, they're not good defensively from an effort standpoint. And the Pacers are able to, again, win, and they were, at that point, 7-0 in clutch games in the postseason, which by itself is an insane stat, just to be 7-0 in clutch games. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it from an NFL perspective, 7-0 in one-score games. Like, that is something that, like, law of averages says that's going to turn around at some point. But, like, just from a baseline, that's insane. Then you think about the comebacks that they had, 3 8-point, 7-point comebacks in less than a minute and a half, less than a minute, and one of the standpoints. Just absolutely insane what the kind of run they had been on. And they take game 2 and took control coming back to Indiana.
Sure.
Jack.
Yeah, they come back to Indiana, and I think why I wanted to get to Game 3 is because this is where I feel like the Knicks adjusted. I think they came to the realization after Game 1 and 2, talking about them being tired at the end of both games. They said, whether we want to or not, we have to play more guys. And so they played 9 guys tonight. Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright both got minutes, and they hadn't played so far in the series, I don't believe.
DeLon Wright played 26 seconds in Game 1 at the end of the first half, so
Okay.
Brunson didn't pick up a fourth foul.
So, but largely these were their first big real minutes. I thought DeLon Wright especially played pretty well. And then you got your Miles McBride minutes, and Mitchell Robinson started in this game as well. So I really think the Knicks after Game 2 were like, we have to make some big changes if we're gonna win this series, and they did. They came out and did it, especially from a defensive effort standpoint. Late in the fourth, it paid off in huge dividends, as well as another adjustment they made down the fourth. I'm not positive if this was intentional from Thibs or if it was foul trouble stuff, but they didn't really put Cat and Brunson on the floor at the same time very much at all in the fourth, which is big because you just let either Cat or Brunson create, and then you just let everyone else fill out the defense around them and, secondary scores around them. When Cat and Brunson are both on the floor, it's a lot harder for the Knicks defense to get stops.
Against this version
Of the
against this
Pacers.
team,
Yes, yeah. Against the Pacers, because the Pacers are so fast and have different scoring options and have multiple guys that can hunt the mismatch, and the fact that Miles Turner can pick and pop, which he took a lot of ill-advised threes in the fourth quarter, in my opinion. Another big story is Cat scores 20 in the fourth in this game. After an abysmal start to this game, people were calling him soft on Twitter, kitty cat. People were saying, you're not Big Purr, you're kitty cat. Well, Big Purr came out to play in the fourth, a huge 20-piece to close the gap, because they were down 20 late in the first half, and then 13 at half, which I think was actually the broadcast said it multiple times, so I guess it's not an underrated aspect of this game, but the fact that they managed to close the gap a little bit going into halftime. But yeah, I think the adjustments pregame for the Knicks are really the biggest highlight here. What do you got, JP?
For me, I think that's a great point. For me, it felt like the way they played that game was just really good. Playing through the punches.
Yeah.
You go down 20, like it would be very easy to roll over and give up. But think about the Knicks so far in this postseason. The last 4 road games, a 20-point comeback against the Boston Celtics, a 20-point comeback against the Boston Celtics, get blown out by 25 against the Celtics, and then another 20-point comeback against the Indiana Pacers.
It's what they do.
And they are a team, they don't give up, just like Indiana. They are not afraid to come from behind, and they can turn up their defensive intensity when they need to. And like Jack said, the adjustment of playing 2 extra guys in DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet was massive for them. It allowed them to be fresh down the stretch in the game. From a minutes perspective, Mikal Bridges plays 45 in Game 2. He plays 37 in Game 3. OG played 36 and 37 in the 2 games, so not a big change for him. But for like Jalen Brunson, he plays 39 minutes versus 31, and even he was able to get to his spots late down the stretch without tired legs. That was an impressive effort, especially in the fourth quarter. They beat the Pacers by 16 in the fourth quarter to win this game going away. Karl-Anthony Towns was electric. Van Gundy was making big points about, like, you were saying now with Miles Turner that he was taking some ill-advised threes. Van Gundy on the broadcast was saying Karl-Anthony Towns was taking ill-advised threes. For me, I completely disagree.
It was clear he was feeling it.
Yes, he was hot. He had it going for sure. And just the scenario of the game, they were up, like they were leading by 1 each of those threes. And in those spots, like when you're in the lead and you're on the road and you're trailing in the series, you're looking to grab control of momentum and really try to take the life out of the crowd and take the life out of the Pacers. And Karl-Anthony Towns was trying to do that. And he goes 1 for 3 in those threes. Hits the big one to push the lead to 4, which he probably could have got an and 1 on. But he was electric. And then for Jalen Brunson to play, let me pull it up here. He plays, I believe, 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. He picks up the early foul, which was I disagreed with the call. Felt like he was in a defensive position the entire way, and then I guess has to be a call, but I would have gone with an offensive foul or no call there.
I would have no call personally.
He picks up the foul, and then he sits for 9 minutes of game time or 10 minutes of game time in like half an hour of real time. And then he comes straight up on the floor and hits a big shot to regain the lead. And he was just hits the free throws late.
Clutch.
So much credit to him because the story could have, like, if he doesn't come back in the game or he comes back in the game and misses 2 shots, immediately the story changes from Jalen Brunson, this super clutch player, to Jalen Brunson, we couldn't even play him in the fourth quarter because he's not good enough defensively and he can't hit the big shots, and the Pacers are just more clutch. That was, for me, the NBA is so much about narratives, and the narratives in a game of basketball can change dramatically in a matter of seconds, in a matter of minutes. We saw that in game 1. Knicks are up by 16 with 6 minutes left, or 5.5. And the storyline after the game would have been, okay, Knicks control the Pacers, win game 1. They look like the better team. They're more healthy than they were last year. They should be able to control this series the rest of the way. Boom, Pacers take game 1. They steal it. Boom, they steal game 2. And here we are, Knicks in a spot where they could go down 0-3 in their first ever conference finals since 1999. And they don't even get to go back to the Garden again.
Yeah.
And the Pacers take it from them again, and boom. Brunson, after sitting there for 30 minutes, comes in, hits 2 big shots, and knocks down his free throws, and the Knicks win. So much credit to Jalen Brunson. Shout out. He's here in the flesh, actually.
Yeah.
His uniform. That's
being repped on stream.
That was a game worn in game 1, by the way. Not at all.
That's from tonight's game, actually.
Yeah. Well, they wore blue tonight.
No, it's from tonight. He was wearing it under his blue jersey.
I've been
That's
accused.
a good way to make money right there. Have NBA players wear 2 jerseys a game to sell them.
Yeah. I was accused pre-show that this is foul baiting corner.
In jest.
But I, in my opinion, think it's clutch corner. I think
you would have a Halliburton jersey there if it was clutch corner.
True.
Sure.
Acuna does fit the clutch narrative, though.
Correct.
I do like that.
I agree.
That piece.
Shout out Acuna. Welcome back. But it's the narrative completely changes, and the credit has to go to Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson and Shemet from the TikTok as well. I thought he had great minutes in those 11 minutes that he played. Yeah, Pacers, they lose this one, but like I'm going to say it now, and I'll say it again in the Thunder Timberwolves. This was just a game of desperation.
Yeah.
This is kind of the story of how the NBA playoffs work pretty much every year. If a team has a pulse at all, like is good in any way, shape, or form, when are put under the light bulb and their season is on the line, they're going to respond and win that game the first time, like 90% of the time.
We've seen it happen to Indiana 3 times these playoffs.
Correct.
They've lost game 3 all 3 times after being up 2-0.
And so this was just another desperation, down 2-0, can't go down 3-0, and they were able to just take game 3, and now they're in a spot, game 4, if they can pull that off, which they have proved that they are more than capable of doing that.
They love the road.
6-1 in the playoffs on the road this season. Knicks, here we go.
Yeah, I like the narratives piece to kind of start wrapping up this segment on this series. Because also you're starting to see things like, Pacers win this series, like, man, they're hot, they can't be stopped, team of destiny. I started seeing people like, man, this is like really the team that's going to beat the Thunder and stuff like that. And now it's like, man, did the Pacers look a little tight, in that fourth quarter? Like, they looked a little lackadaisical when they got up 20. They took the foot off the gas, stuff like that. Some, knee-jerk overreactions, in my opinion, largely. But it really is just a sport of narratives. I want to just finish going back to the Knicks defense. Holding this Pacers team to 100 points is huge. Pacers hit 5 threes in this game, which I don't expect them to hit that low of, a number in the series again. But I do think a large part of it was to the Knicks defense. I think from a non-knowledgeable guy, it looked to me like they were doing a lot of taking away the 3 and forcing Indiana to drive. And Indiana, especially in that fourth quarter, did not want to go strong to the rim. They kept just kicking it right back out to a shooter that the Knicks would then just close right on fast again, and they'd swing it again, and then you get a tough three or a tough fadeaway from a player or a little push shot from Neesmith. It just
Who was the dude that had the 2 threes late in the game?
Miles Turner
Yes.
put up a couple tough ones, which I don't agree with those takes, but they weren't. It was the first time all playoffs. It was like, man, the Pacers were really struggling to generate good looks, and I think they just needed to attack the rim a little stronger, which is not necessarily their strong suit as a team. But even I remember one play vividly, and it's Neesmith beats his guy into the paint, and he could just easily put up a little floater or even just stop and hit a little midi jumper, and instead he takes it in a little closer and then just kicks it out to the corner, and it's like, okay, we're just back at square one based on this offensive possession because the Knicks are right there to close because it's almost like they were ready for the kick out.
Yeah, the Knicks' rotations defensively
Were fantastic.
Yes, fantastic. That would be the film you would show if you were trying to teach how you want your defense to rotate in a man-to-man situation. Again, from like an Indiana perspective, it's another thing that kind of frustrates me about Tyrese Halliburton and some of these Pacers as well is, and part of it's philosophy-based, but there are so many spots where like you need to go out there and be aggressive yourself, and specifically Tyrese. There were 2 moments. One specifically, I can remember he gets it on a fast break, and he has Karl-Anthony Towns with 5 fouls in front of him. There's like 3 minutes left, 1-on-1, and he pulls it out and swings it.
He's a big fan of the pull-out.
Yeah, he pulls it out. Wow. Pulls it out to the wing, swings it to Neesmith, and then Neesmith swung it to Miles Turner, I believe, and Miles Turner makes a 3. Now, it worked out for them, but that's a spot where, like, Karl-Anthony Towns has 5 fouls.
Just go right at
and
him.
the way the refs have been calling the game, go right at him and draw that 6th foul and take him out of the game, especially with the fourth quarter he was having. And then down the stretch, again, just settling, shooting too many threes in spots where you don't need to, not taking advantage of the size matchup that you had. When you got the switches, you were not capable of getting the ball to the big man and getting the easy looks. You instead took your looks against the other switch with where you had the big man guarding you. It was frustrating from a Pacers perspective. You, in the second half, score 42 points. For the Pacers, it's kind of unacceptable, regardless if you were shooting bad or whatnot. With the pace that you play at, like 48 or 42 points should be impossible unless you were just shooting at an all-time low, especially in a game where you got to the foul line 33 times. I thought that was also a big storyline was the foul line. Pacers missed 3 free throws in the second half to the Knicks 1. And that's kind of it was my 9th grade freshman basketball coach. That was his big MO, and he'd say it every single practice, every single game. Layups and free throws win and lose you games in the NBA and basketball in general. Layups and free throws. Missing free throws and missing layups or missing easy points, and that can always be the difference in the game, and it was here. Like, yeah, the Pacers only missed 3 free throws in the second half, but they're 3 important free throws when the Knicks are down 13 coming into the second half. It's a difference between 16 and 13. So just poor execution, poor shot selection for the Pacers, and part of that is, for me, celebrate defense, credit to the Knicks. They were outstanding. But the Pacers missed some spots where they really could have taken advantage of the Knicks.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, when T.J. McConnell looked like your most aggressive and assertive player out there, which, shout out T.J. McConnell, it's kind of what he does. He comes into these games. And,
triple digits, all 3.
Yeah, it gives some good minutes, but it's still not a good sign when that's the case, when he's the only one that really is getting good paint touches and such. And not just getting paint touches, but being very decisive and knowing what he's going to do when he gets there. Not exactly what you want from the Pacers. Move on to the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, I guess we predict Game 5, though,
Sure.
since that'll be played before, or Game 4 before we record on Wednesday, and then we'll record after Game 5. No, we won't record after Game 5. So, yeah, we'll talk about Game 4.
Sanders, who you got Game 4?
Pacers.
I also have the Pacers. I don't think they'll lose back-to-back at home.
I got the Knicks. I think the Knicks get it done in Indiana again. I thought that for them, it felt like they played poor in this game while they had an electric fourth quarter. It wasn't necessarily that they played poor. It was just the foul trouble puts them in a spot where they can't be productive with Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns can't be productive until the fourth quarter. And if they can avoid that, which
They haven't all series.
yeah, they have in all series, and it was also a problem in the Celtics series as well. But if they were able to avoid it, then they're going to be, I think they'll be in a spot where this can be like the level of play throughout an entire game. That's kind of been a problem for the Knicks this postseason is they, with their 5 guys, their 5 or 6 guys that are really good, they don't get the like really good stretches of minutes from them because they get in the foul trouble and they get subbed out. And now you have an offense with only 4 guys that can really create their own shot, or 3 guys, or you're in a spot where they literally played minutes where it was Miles McBride, Josh Hart, DeLon Wright, Landry Shamet, and Mitchell Robinson. Miles McBride is your number 1 option on the floor in a postseason game in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's a story of the foul trouble, and that's a story of the lack of rest that some of these players are getting. And, yeah, that can't happen. So if the Knicks are able to avoid that and avoid spots like that, which Miles McBride was electric. He scores 7 points in those minutes.
Yeah.
But
He's a good player.
if they can avoid that, I think they're in a great spot. They, for one, have to feel all the confidence in the world playing on the road at 6-1. And the only game you lost was a game of desperation, like I talked about, 3-1 against the Celtics. So I think the Knicks get it done in Game 4, and we go back to the Garden in Game 5, and it is going to be electric on Thursday night.
I saw a take that the Garden isn't the home court advantage that people think it is.
Definitely not.
Let me finish my take. Not my take, the take I saw. Because everyone's looking to have their Kodak moment in the Garden.
I think for some people it can be
Like a LeBron, for example, always performs in the Garden, which, I mean, that's unfair because that's, the best basketball player of all time.
Yeah.
But, that's just like a take I saw. I thought that was interesting.
I think for some it can be too much. We've definitely seen that before where it's really kind of just too much. But for a lot, it is, like you said, it is their moment to shine. It's the grandest stage of them all. And we've seen that time and time again throughout NBA history. Think of, every player's big moments have come in the Garden, regular season or post. Michael Jordan, Reggie Miller, Steph Curry scores 60 points in the Garden. And then recently we've seen Trae Young and the Pacers and the Knicks have all played well in the Garden. And even Cade Cunningham had some good moments in the Garden in this postseason.
I agree. It's a player-to-player basis.
Yeah, it's the grandest stage of them all, and everyone wants to play their best there. And, it's not necessarily the kind of home court advantage the Knicks would hope for. I feel like it definitely eats at them a little bit because the crowd, you can feel the emotion.
You got
of the
pressure
crowd.
to perform under a crowd like that.
So much emotion. They're ready to pop with every single made shot. And when you miss, it kind of takes the crowd a little bit out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, see.
I was gonna say one other thing.
Yeah.
I told Jack it's kind of crazy how as good and as close as the games have been, we were very close to having a not good series on our hands. Not in the games have been close, but it was almost 3-0, which would have been an unfortunate place to be given how good the games have been. To be like, wow, well, we're only going to get 4, maybe 5 of these games. So as much as I want the Pacers to win, I am glad the Knicks got the game tonight, just to kind of give us more basketball, hopefully.
Sure. From a casual perspective, I completely understand it. I have really enjoyed the series. Even if
it's
the
been
Pacers won
fantastic.
tonight. And for me, the narratives are such a big part of it that, like, the narrative of a sweep is massive. And for me, that holds just as much impact as if it went 7 games and a team were able to win it or not. But I completely understand it from the casual perspective, not getting to see as many games as you'd
and also
you'd hope
not
for.
getting the intensity of Game 6 and Game 7 of oh my gosh, this is insane.
I think the only spot that really kind of eats at me is just the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
I like seeing not 5.
I mean, that's the end.
6-7 games of that because there's so much anticipation and highs and lows because you have the 2 days off in between games. So you have a night, 2 days, or 3 nights and 2 days. Actually, 3 days and 3 nights to think about what game 1 was and what game 2 is going to be between the two. You have the night after the game ends, and then you have the day, the day of the game, and you have the 2 nights as well. And you have so much time to think about everything that, if missing out on an extra game or two or which becomes an extra 3 days, 3 nights of that's where it eats at me. But for this, I don't really have a care
Fair.
For that.
Now you can move on.
Yeah. As we're moving on, is it hot in here to anyone else?
100%.
Do we think we have AC? Do you think the reflector took our AC?
Potentially. That was the first thing I said when I walked in.
Yeah, I mean,
That's us.
that's a little unfair to be like take our AC, but yeah, we record at college campus and it's summer, and it's also 11 at night. But typically, I feel like it's nice and
Also
cool
an
in
old
here.
building.
It is
Well, they just
recently
remodeled
redone.
Oh,
That's why they
Um,
have a podcast studio now.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Did you?
Anyway, it just typically it's a little chilly in here, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, man, it just
Still
feels pretty
old
toasty.
construction.
But we're so dedicated to getting these podcasts out. AC
yeah.
or no AC, we're locked in. OKC, Minnesota. Same thing. 2 games have happened since we last recorded. Thunder took game 2. Gosh, now that game 3's happened, trying to think about like what really happened in game 2. Julius Randle put up a big stinker. Scored 6 points, I think. Just a terrible performance for how good he's been this playoffs. It just once again felt like Minnesota would hang around for a little bit, and then the defensive intensity and just overall, defense of the OKC would come, and they just land a knockout punch and go on a little run, and Minnesota couldn't recover. In game 3, unless you want to say anything about game 2?
I do want to say something. It again proved what I've been saying a couple times already, that to beat the Thunder, you got to play 48 minutes of complete basketball, and the Minnesota does not do that. They're only down 8 going into halftime, and then they lose the third quarter by 14. Randall was not productive, as I kind of expected him to not be throughout this series. He kind of changes that in game 3, but I kind of have a different view on it.
Game 3 feels like a different game. I don't know. It just...
And for a game where, for me, I thought it was super impactful for the entire series, that a game where people are saying, oh my God, the bench players are finally making shots. Dante DiVincenzo hits 2 threes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker hits 3. It didn't matter because, the Julius Randle was not productive.
Yeah.
And Ant was not as productive from 3, at least. So, for me, I was like, oh, well, that kind of just ends the series right there. That the Timberwolves are going to need 48 minutes of just complete basketball, which is exactly what I felt. But to see it play out that way, it proved to me that the Thunder are a team that feels unbeatable unless you play 4 perfect games. And the Timberwolves were able to do that in game 3, Jack.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to play 4 perfect games. I guess maybe so.
I'd say 3.
Yeah,
so
3.
The Thunder at their youth are due for a stinker.
Yeah.
Or a collapse.
Talking about, this OKC is just always sitting there waiting to deliver the knockout blow and just suffocate you with their defense. To me, it felt like the Wolves gave OKC a taste of their own medicine in game 3 from the defensive intensity standpoint. Just from the jump, another desperation game, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're down 2-0 in this series. They have the crowd behind them. They're back at home. It's just different mentality, different energy out the jump. They're suffocating OKC. They talked a ton on the broadcast about the pickup point of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
They were picking him up lower, but then they were picking up a lot of other guys higher. Masterful game plan from that standpoint. It really threw OKC off. Shai couldn't really get comfortable. And then from there, they get going. They start off with this defensive intensity, and then they just start hitting shots. And at that point, with all that momentum and energy, they were off to the races. They shot 50% from 3, hit 20 of them. Everyone was contributing. Terrence Shannon comes in out of nowhere off the bench and scores 15, gives them great minutes. It feels like when I'm blanking what he calls it, but when it's not that this game doesn't matter, but it's like the margins and like how well stuff played out is like it's like when a team in football rushes for 500 yards and it's like, okay, well, like putting that in their averages feels like
Yeah.
that's too extreme because like 500 just like doesn't really happen. That's kind of how this game feels in the sense of like
yeah, like a Heisman like booster game where you play a Division II school and you boost like a player boosts his stats a ton.
yeah, and
A
it's
similar
not.
perspective.
And since it's OKC, it's like that's not a one-to-one because OKC is not a team you just boost off of. But with how the team was playing and everything, it's like everything was falling. They were just boosting stats because of all the vibes and how good the energy was. And then they end up winning by 42 points, 143 to 101. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. Was like Minnesota gave OKC a taste of their own medicine. So I'm interested to see how like Game 4 goes, how OKC bounces back. But what are your thoughts on this game, JP?
I thought it was important for Minnesota to do this. I expected them to win, and I expected them to win comfortably, to be honest, because of the desperation aspect. And the Thunder, this is where a spot where the youth can catch up to them because they haven't developed that killer
Sure.
mindset yet that we would see out of like the Warriors dynasty. We saw that with the KD and Steph teams, specifically in the NBA Finals. They went out and they won Game 3 in Cleveland both of those times against the LeBron Cavs because they knew how big that game was from a momentum perspective. And then in the first Finals, the refs just give the Cavs Game 4, and they're able to win Game 5. But this is where the youth kind of caught up to the Thunder, where they're not at the spot yet in their career where this is a game that they're going to go out there and win. As impactful as it can be to win this game, because winning the game wins the series.
Sure.
Because no one has ever come back from down 3-0. So
it also is the thing of like we've seen this OKC team start games pretty tight multiple times, and Minnesota just never let them regain their footing.
Yeah, and this has been the story as well of the playoffs for the Thunder, is they just haven't been good on the road at all.
Sure.
Both the Grizzly games were close. You lose Game 3 after our awful fourth quarter to the Nuggets, and then you're able to win Game 4, and again you lose Game 6 because you're just bad in the second half. Again, another poor performance from the Thunder, but I for them it was like, okay, you punched us once. You got to beat us 3 more times.
Yeah. That was
from a confidence perspective.
You could listen to Shea on the bench when they got him on the hot mic or mic'd up or whatever, and it was very similar of like, they don't view this as like, oh gosh, we just lost by 41. It's like, we did 1 or 2 things wrong and it snowballed from there. We cleaned those 2 things up. We're totally fine. We'll get them next game.
Yeah. Same.
that wasn't the Minnesota perfect game, right?
For me, it kind of felt that
Okay.
way. That
Yeah, I'd
this
agree.
was the Minnesota perfect game, and it shows that way. They win every quarter from a points perspective. They are electric from 3-point. They are really good from
Win
a defensive perspective.
you win the turnover margin against OKC. Like
Mhm.
that doesn't really ever happen. Like
This felt like the perfect game from them, while it was on the opposite side of the Thunder were really, really bad.
Yeah.
Which I would credit to the defense, like Jack was saying, was a large part of that. Holding Shea to 14 points, whether he's a big foul baiter or not to you, is
very
a
impressive.
statement. It was the first time he's been held under 15 points since I think it was March or so of 2024. So
Wow.
literally an entire calendar year and more in 2 months. So like to hold Shea to this low of points was impressive and a statement. But I don't think it's like we've been saying, the Thunder would feel any woes and confidence from this because, again, desperation game. Minnesota kind of pitches their perfect game, as Sanders was saying, or at least posing. And, this is now you go on to Game 4, and that kind of is the series right there, is Game 4, which is what I love about NBA playoff series is every game almost feels like it is the series. Game 3, like, literally is the series because the Thunder, when they win the series, if the Timberwolves win, they have a chance.
Yeah.
Game 4 feels the same because you go back to Game 5 and it's tied 2-2. it'll be interesting, and it's going to be like electric. The Thunder again have to prove that they're not young and that they're mature enough to win this. The Timberwolves are kind of in the same spot, also being young, but they've already shown in last season's postseason that they're able to win games like this. They did this against the Denver Nuggets, winning Game 5 and Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets last season. Yeah. But yeah, this was expected for me. But you still have to give a ton of credit to them because they went out and did it. The Timberwolves did what they were supposed to do. And I also think it was, Jack, you were saying last night, and I think I changed your perspective on it, that it was kind of a boring game and you kind of hated that you had to see this. But for me, it felt like this was a big one to boost Timberwolves' confidence, and it should set up a high-stakes Game 4 and Game 5.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, like with 5 minutes left in the fourth, I was like, never mind, this is really fun, just because it was fun to watch how well the Timberwolves were playing and just the crowd behind them and all of that. And it is, we talked about this game doesn't really matter for OKC's confidence, but it's obviously huge for Minnesota's. And I think it's the biggest thing I was surprised about from Game 1 and 2, especially with Ant, is like he played with his chip on his shoulder, and he truly believes he's the best player on the court at all times. And he kind of looked like he had that edge again in Game 3. And also, I mentioned, just talking about it yesterday while the game was going on, it looked also like Minnesota as a team, remember that they're also really good defensively, that they're a really strong unit. Rudy Gobert gave you good minutes after lackluster Game 1 and 2. Now he's still not going to do anything offensively, but that doesn't really matter. I don't know, just up and down the board, everyone played really, really well. And that bodes well for Game 4. I'm interested to see how those performances continue. Talking about after Game 1 about the fact that like Dante wasn't shooting the ball well, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker wasn't shooting the ball well, and Naz Reid hadn't been shooting the ball well after the first couple Lakers games, and they all hit some big threes in this game. And so I'm interested to see if that can kind of spark something for the role players and bench guys moving on.
They were 6 for 9 from 3, those 3 guys, which was big in this game, especially early on. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Game 4 is going to be awesome. I can't wait for tomorrow night. It's a big stepping stone. I think the Thunder win that, they win Game 5. But I also kind of think the Thunder win in Game 5 regardless of what happens.
Yeah.
So Timberwolves
just they win this, then they wrap up the series.
Is a must win tonight to extend, or tomorrow night to extend the series. Almost tonight. We're getting close to that.
We are.
This one, shout out Andrew McBride, really does feel like the old saying of like the series doesn't start until a home team loses a game, and I think that's a little overplayed. But after watching Minnesota, and this could be overreaction, prisoner of the moment, but after watching Minnesota at home in Game 3. It does kind of feel like that. So, do you have anything you want to add, Sanders? I don't know if you did. You watch?
I'm trying to. So, when the Pacers beat, I'm just trying to think through that. The series doesn't start till the home team loses a game.
Doesn't apply to every series, but it's commonly said.
Yeah,
I've never heard it, so that's interesting. No, I don't have.
And it's usually for me, it's flipped the other way. It's the series doesn't start until the road team wins. But same saying.
It is
same saying. I do like that flip on it though, honestly, because like who's going to go take a game on the road? And we've not seen it in this series yet at all. Which I know. I mean, this game feels like there will be a little bit of a blip on the radar. In a lot of ways, especially just with it being an absolute blowout, and that makes it really easy for OKC to not have to. When you're up 30, you don't really have to worry about this OKC comeback where their defense starts clamping. And also talking about, it being a blowout. OKC came out after half and tried to find to the lead. They really did, but pretty soon after you could kind of tell they were like, okay, like we're just going to take our foot off the gas and we'll get ready for the next game.
Yeah, they were down 31 at halftime, so pretty insurmountable.
Yeah.
Even for the Pacers or the Knicks.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. I think the Celtics could blow a 30-point lead.
Definitely possible.
Shout out Joe Mazzulla.
So the question is, did this game change anything? Well, I don't think it changed anything, but Game 4, what are y'all's thoughts?
It makes me more excited for the rest of the series, obviously.
Yeah.
OKC's just been so good all year. I think I still like OKC to win Game 4.
And 5.
Man, that just I don't know. I'm trying not to be too overreactionary to Game 3, as I've said multiple times. But at the same time, I mean, the Timberwolves made big adjustments and really made the Thunder are gonna have to come back and make adjustments to counter that. So screw it. I'll take the Timberwolves to win Game 4.
I think they got a decent chance. I think this will be the closest game of the series, for me.
This will be our first game closer than 20-something points. And if it's a close game, the bar is pretty low.
15 is the lowest score differential between a game.
We could be looking at our first like crunch time game.
That'd be interesting, especially with these two teams. But I Game 3 in both series did not change my perspective about my pick for either series. I still think the Knicks win in 7, and I still think the Thunder win in 5.
It would be really funny if the Game 3 in the Eastern Conference changed your perspective on who wins that series. Just considering the Knicks won, you have the Knicks in 7.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, I agree.
Now that'd be a crazy call from you if you were like, no. But sorry to interrupt.
Oh, the Pacers had won tonight.
Well, sure.
I would have changed my perspective of it. My dad's cousin, who's from New York, is pretty adamant that the Knicks are going to win in 7, and he said that when they were down 20 in the second quarter today. So
respect to him then.
Shout out to the New Yorkers and shout out to Jeff. Neither of Game 3 kind of deterred me from my pick perspective. I still think the Thunder win this in 5. I expect Game 4 to be close, come down to the wire. I expect the Thunder to make a few plays defensively, the Timberwolves to miss a few shots, and then we go back to Game 5, and I expect the Thunder to close that at home.
Sure.
With that home crowd and advance back to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2012.
Yeah, I mean, I just said I have Timberwolves winning Game 4, but I still expect this to OKC to wrap this up in, I'd say, 6. So
shout out SGA, game worn jersey from Game 2. So
yeah,
game worn like you wore for intramurals, or
he wore it while watching Game 2.
Yeah,
fresh out of the wrapping from
huge
today. So
good stuff. I think that's all.
Yeah, that is all. Unless we want to break
Anyone
down.
Want to toss anything out there, or any big news?
I've been scrolling Twitter over here. I've been looking at Power 4 basketball rosters for the fall, which is pretty cool, or winter, depending on how you.
It's a cool setup. The fact that gave you like graphic form and headshots of everyone.
This dude kind of cooked. The tweet, I have it saved. I'll shout him out real quick because it's actually really impressive work. Here we go. Max Barr tweeted a Google sheet, and it basically, JP, this is really cool. It has all of the teams and their predicted starting lineups. And if this is a really neat detail that I noticed, he changed the color of guys that transferred in, the color scheme of their jersey to match their new team. So like Boogie Fland, his Razorbacks
Blue Razorbacks
jersey,
is crazy.
So like optically, you don't even notice that they're wearing like. This dude wearing it's a red and black California jersey. He transferred to Georgia, but like if you were just like scrolling, he just looked like he was wearing it. Like that's a really neat touch, and that had to have been a lot of work. So shout out Max Barr.
Can you go to the A&M one real quick?
Yeah. I want to see our 2 lineups.
Yeah. Mississippi State. He's got. I think this is going point guard to center. So he's got
It would be.
Epps.
Yeah, it would be.
So he's got Epps, the point guard, and Hubbard, the shooting guard.
Do you agree with that starting 5?
I'd start Hubbard at the point.
So are you starting?
Well,
and you're
those are
saying
But I'm starting 2 guards.
so you're starting Epps at the 2 then, or you just
No, I'd rather start the Arizona State kid,
McGee.
right now.
Is McGee not the?
No, not McGee. McGee's from UAB.
That's what I was gonna say.
Amir Ali.
Yes,
Is
I
he
would
the Arizona
rather
State?
start Amir Ali right now. But we'll see. Come practice time. A chore.
What a name!
Dog.
We also have a double name on our team.
Yep.
Texas A&M that is with Federico.
Yep. 6'11". I mean, y'all got 2 guys that were already on the team.
2 whole guys. Marcus Hill. He
Is
found
that
a.
North
He found
Alabama?
Yes, he found a jersey swap for Marcus Hill because Marcus Hill wasn't on the team. The only guy on the team was Chris McDermott, is the only returner, and he played 0 minutes last year. all things considered, that's a pretty solid starting five. I look at that bench and I don't know, but considering like I said, we returned 0 minutes. I can't be too upset about how that looks.
But yeah, I've been over here scrolling through that. I tried to look at it like months ago, and for some reason it wouldn't load, but now it loads, so it's pretty cool.
It's great work.
Yeah. I'm excited to. I don't know that we're gonna have time to do in-depth basketball breakdown and previews.
We will have a SEC basketball preview show.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be like in-depth like we're gonna try and do because we won't have.
Even if I'm just sitting here alone, I'm doing it. But
Yeah.
All right.
I can outsource some help.
Anything else
solo
y'all want
show.
to talk about?
No, I mean-
Yes.
What?
I want to shout out AB Voigt 19. He hit champion 2 nights ago. Absolutely electric. For one, it locks up my candidacy for forever, pretty much, as A-team leader.
Huge.
I am the first guy to lead someone on my team to champion the highest rank in the game. So that kind of gives me a credit point that the former A-team leader and any future A-team leader could never hold. Respectfully, only AB Voigt 19 at this point could be the A-team leader, but he's not the vocal
Presence.
vocal IGL
Sure.
like I am. So shout out to him. He a champion. Man, what a story. We always quote Julian Edelman from the Super Bowl 51. You know, the one where he's telling Tom when they're like down, it's going to be a hell of a story.
Yeah.
You've heard that? Yeah. We always say that all the time when we're like down 3-0 in a siege game or something.
It's going to be a hell of a story.
And it was a hell of a story for him getting up to champion. He was 2.5 weeks ago. He was at 99 RP out of the 100 required to hit champion,
Mm-hmm.
and then we hit a losing streak, and he dropped 3 ranks, and we got all the way back up. We went 6-0 2 nights ago.
Huge.
And it was an electric 6-0 games. So many clutches. And our worst player dropped 2 11 bombs.
Let's go.
It was just awesome. We clutched multiple 1v4s. So shout out to him. Shout out to Ronald Acuna. Welcome back.
Yep, homer on the first pitch you saw back. Sadly, the Padres beat us this weekend on the series.
Yeah, we did.
Due to we're not playing good baseball right now. The Braves.
Yeah,
that
we're gonna
is.
fire Brian.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need to.
That base running here. Okay, was that on
He
the third
blamed
base?
it on the
That was on
ground.
the third base coach, right?
Okay,
Oh, I don't know what you're.
I'll address both. I'm going to address this one first. It was on the runner.
Was it?
Yes. I mean, people were like, well, the third base coach could have been more clear, could have pointed at the bag. If a third base coach is doing this, that's like the universal stop sign. Also, watching it, it's not like if the ball had been caught, the third base coach would have been like, get back, get back. I mean,
Yeah.
even Eli White in his press conference was like, yeah, I don't know why I got confused. I just got confused, and that's on me. I can't be making those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, a brain fart is a multi-million-dollar athlete.
The issue is the third base coach hasn't been good all year, so that's why people were
Oh.
pretty quick to jump on and blame him because he's been an issue.
Does
Okay.
Eli White make $multi-million?
Probably not.
Continue, Jack.
I believe he's
Oh.
probably on the minimum.
Never mind.
He came up from the minor leagues.
790,000. So not multi.
He's doing solid though.
not even a million.
Yeah, still getting paid that much money to play a game.
I
And then
saw
being like, yeah, I just got confused.
Brian Snicker never directly blamed the grounds crew. In my opinion, and
Wait, what? Is
after
this
looking
that
at
you're
his
talking
quote,
about?
Austin Riley has made 5 errors in the past 15 games. Our third baseman.
I saw one
Awesome.
live.
Brian Snicker, the Braves manager, was asked about it. He basically was like, yeah, it's just been taking some rough bounces out there, basically some tough hops. And I think he was basically being
True.
like, that's baseball. It happens. Our beat reporter decided to, in his tweet about it, be like, Brian Snicker blames the grounds crew for it.
We have one of the best grounds crew.
Yeah,
MLB.
that's, in my opinion, it's bad form from Mark Bowman, the Braves beat writer. And he was just trying to, I don't know if he was trying to stir the pot or what, or if he just truly misinterpreted what Snicker was trying to say. But yeah, Snicker's a very big, hey, that's baseball guy, and I think that's just what he was trying to say to defend Austin Riley. I still think he needs to be fired, but because something has to change.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. We have to make some kind of change going into the.
We should have spent more
before the
money as
trade
well.
deadline.
But
Definitely should have spent more money. A pitching staff isn't
Jurickson
good enough.
Profar shouldn't have been taking pregnancy hormones.
Offense is just atrocious. For the most part, like we only kind of score off of home runs. We don't really produce runs the baseball way, which is a
Yeah.
problem because if you're not hitting home runs, then you're not winning.
Yeah.
Home runs are like one of the most rare things in sports. So
We built our team off of that before, and I don't hate it. The issue is we don't have the hitters for it this
yeah,
year.
we don't have 9 guys who can do it
Yeah.
like we've had in the past.
Which is frustrating because we kind of should, but Michael Harris and Ozzie Albies have been so bad this year and at times in their career where you can't really trust them to do that. And then since Profar gets hurt, you now have another not so good hitter in the lineup. It's just tough. And then in a game like today, it's like, okay, we get a good starting pitching performance, and then the error happens. He gives up a home run. And then our relievers, man, just a lot of good but not great out there, and so it's tough to know who to put in a tie game or in a one-run game out of the bullpen.
Yeah, those are the 2 moves I would make. Fire Brian, add some arms in the pen.
It's just tough because Iglesias was dynamite last year, and we would need something besides him. But I mean, he can't stop giving up home runs.
Yeah, we need a second reliable arm.
But we decided to buy office space instead in the battery instead of buying a reliever because we were owned by a private equity company and not. It's more fun when your team's owned by a billionaire. He's,
Fair.
typically a little more willing to spend.
JP, what are you doing to celebrate tomorrow? Is your holiday, your day off of work?
Going up to Tupelo, eating lunch, and then watching the new Mission Impossible.
Hype.
Nice.
We are going to Jackson, me and Sanders, that is, to play angle ball.
Awesome.
All y'all know what that is. And then we're going to see Friendship, the new movie with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
And I hope it's great because I love Tim Robinson. I'm very Tim Robinson pilled.
Clifton said we need to explain angle ball during the summer on one of our shows.
We can do that. We'll
Give-
probably have to play a video or something.
It can be part of our film breakdown
We'll
yeah.
give some in-depth analysis.
with the green screen.
But yeah, I don't know. I love Tim Robinson. It should be a good time. We're gonna see some family.
I love angle ball. I'm excited.
Wow, you hate Tim Robinson? That's crazy.
I'm also getting paid for 8 hours tomorrow too. So
That's hype.
yeah,
Super.
we get holiday pay.
That's crazy.
That's hype.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I can't say that. That's not against my NDA. So
Oh, you can say that. That's
Yeah.
good.
Cool.
That's good. All right.
I
Well,
thought you said I can't say that. I was like, well,
let me just. I'll go in.
yeah, can
I'll
we cut that?
we'll fix that in post. Y'all want to end the show here and then record a little bit of TikTok content
Sure.
and then go to bed?
Yeah, let me make sure that I've got everything out.
Got everything.
you got
out?
5 seconds. 5, 4, 3.
Oh. Let's do the thing. Can you explain the thing from mom?
I can. For Mrs. Oakley,
She
she
sent me an Instagram reel of the
I don't remember when it was. I don't
an
have.
old baseball game where the Braves were in the 18th inning, and they sent the batter to the plate who was batting.
60.060.
Yes.
He was a reliever.
Yep.
The
Basically,
caption said, "Braves are out of hitters. Send this guy to a plate and a miracle happens." And my mom was like, "What does it mean they're out of hitters?"
so I can
Take it away,
explain. I don't know. How much does your mom know baseball? I just don't want to way over explain if it's
A decent bit, and she can also. I mean, she'll do her own.
cool.
I think you can give a pretty simple explanation.
The basis for this is the pitchers used to bat in the NL.
She knows
And I figured she knew that, but and now they don't. But it basically every time later in that game that the pitcher spot would come up, they would pinch hit someone off the bench, and that person would get pulled out of the game because they'd have to put in another pitcher. So basically, they'd used up every single person on their bench in a pitch hit opportunity. So a pitcher had to pitch because there was no one left on the bench to fill in because they were in the 16th or 18th inning or whatever it was. Because basically that spot in the order had come up over and over again.
And so they were pitching a new pitcher.
I
They
don't-
were also tearing through pitchers then.
Yeah, I don't know if they brought in a new pitcher or if that was the pitcher that was already in, and since they had no one else, they were like, I guess you're batting.
Yeah, but for the system you're talking about to work, they would have to change pitchers every time they pinch hit too, right?
Correct. But you have 8 or 9 guys in the pen, and you have typically 4 or 5 guys to pinch hit.
Yeah.
So you're going to run out of people on the to pinch hit before you run out of people in the bullpen. Theoretically, it depends on obviously how you deploy those. But that's definitely what happened.
Well, I'll tell my mom to go listen to the end of the live stream so she can.
Yeah, you have to
her
get through
answer.
the 5 to 10 minutes of lollygagging we do at the end of every show.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
it's the best part of the show.
It's maybe my most favorite thing.
It
we
makes
do.
me want to do a podcast where we just lollygag. Like when we
Yeah.
were on Discord on Wednesday night and we were just chilling. If y'all hadn't had early mornings, we could have just hung out there forever.
Discord's a
having a
vibe.
good old time. All right, let's end the show.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
As always.